I stood at my office window on the 43rd floor, watching the rain streak down the glass like tears I'd forgotten how to cry. Below, the city moved in its usual chaos. Umbrellas bumping, taxis honking, people rushing nowhere and everywhere at once. That's when I saw her. She stood perfectly still on the corner of 5th and Madison, rain soaking through her coat, her face tilted up toward the sky. Everyone else ran for cover. But she just stood there, as if she were listening to something only she could hear. I didn't know her name yet. I didn't know that in 3 weeks, she would sit across from me in a coffee shop and say 5 words that would crack open everything I thought I knew about love. But in that moment, watching her stand in the rain, something moved inside my chest. Something I thought had died years ago. My name is Richard. I'm 56 years old. I've built 3 companies, spoken at conferences in 12 countries, and been called a visionary by people who've never seen me cry alone in my car. I have 2 children who call me dad, but look at me like I'm a stranger. And until that rainy Tuesday afternoon, I thought I had everything figured out. I was wrong. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and tell us where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. The intercom on my desk buzzed. My assistant's voice cut through the silence. Mr. Harrison, your 4 o'clock is here. I turned away from the window. The woman in the rain had already disappeared into the crowd, swallowed by umbrellas and the gray wash of the storm. Send them in, I said. But I couldn't shake the image. Her face tilted toward the sky. The stillness of her body while the world rushed past. Why wasn't she running? That night, I sat in my empty apartment, 3,000 square feet of marble and glass overlooking Central Park. My daughter Emma had chosen the furniture. Clean lines. No warmth. Everything looked like a photograph in a magazine about successful people. I poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey and sat in the dark. My phone buzzed. A text from my son, Michael. He was 24 now, working at a startup in Brooklyn. Can't make dinner Sunday. Something came up. No explanation. No apology. Just another canceled plan in a long line of canceled plans. I typed back. Understood. That was our relationship now. Understood. Noted. Will do. When had it become so cold? I knew the answer. I just didn't want to look at it. My ex-wife Catherine used to say I loved my children like I loved my business plan, with goals, strategies, and measurable outcomes. She said it during our last argument, the one that ended with her lawyer's number on the kitchen counter, and my son refusing to look at me. You want to control everything, Richard, she'd said, her voice breaking. You think love is about making people into what you need them to be. But that's not love. That's just fear. I'd told her she was being emotional, that she wasn't thinking clearly. 3 months later, she was gone. The house we'd built together became mine alone. The children split their time, their hearts divided by a custody agreement written by strangers. That was 8 years ago. I'd told myself I was fine, that I'd moved on. But late at night, in my apartment that looked like nobody lived there, I knew the truth. I was so tired of being alone. I saw her again on a Thursday morning. I'd stopped at a small coffee shop near my office. The kind of place I usually avoided because it was too slow, too crowded with people who had nowhere important to be. But that morning, something pulled me inside. She was sitting by the window, her hands wrapped around a white cup, steam rising between her fingers. She wore a gray sweater, her dark hair pulled back simply. No jewelry. No makeup that I could see. She looked at peace. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was the memory of her standing in the rain. Maybe it was the whiskey I'd drunk the night before, loosening something I usually kept locked down. I walked over to her table. Excuse me, I said. I know this sounds strange, but were you standing in the rain on Tuesday? Corner of 5th and Madison. She looked up at me. Her eyes were brown, warm, with tiny lines at the corners that suggested she smiled more than she frowned. I was, she said simply. Can I ask why? A small smile touched her lips. Can I ask why you were watching? Fair point. She gestured to the empty chair across from her. You can sit if you'd like. I sat. Her name was Laura. She was 52, a part-time teacher and full-time mother to 3 grown children. She'd been divorced for 6 years. I stood in the rain, she said, stirring her coffee slowly, because my daughter told me I never stop moving. She said I'm always doing something for someone else, always planning, always fixing. She dared me to just stop. Just for 5 minutes. So you stood in the rain. I stood in the rain. She smiled. It felt wonderful. I didn't know what to say to that. Wonderful wasn't a word in my vocabulary. Effective, yes. Productive, certainly. But wonderful? What do you do? She asked. I run a consulting firm. We help companies restructure, become more efficient. You fix broken things. I optimize functioning systems. She tilted her head, studying me. There's a difference? There's always a difference. She took a sip of her coffee, and in the silence that followed, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Nervous. We talked for an hour. Then another. She told me about her children, how her oldest son was getting married in the spring, how her middle daughter was teaching English in South Korea, how her youngest was struggling to find his path, and she was learning to let him struggle. That must be hard, I said. Watching him fail. He's not failing, she said gently. He's learning. There's a difference. There was that phrase again. There's a difference. I told her about my children. About Emma, my daughter, 26 and brilliant, working in finance. About Michael, who'd chosen a different path and seemed to resent me for every word of advice I'd ever given. Do you see them often? Laura asked. Not as much as I'd like. Why not? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. They're busy, I said. We're all busy. Laura set down her cup. She looked at me with those warm brown eyes, and I felt like she could see through every wall I'd ever built. Richard, she said softly. May I tell you something? Of course. Being busy is just another word for making a choice. 5 words. That's all it took. Being busy is making a choice. Something cracked open inside me. I didn't see Laura again for a week, but I thought about her constantly. I thought about her standing in the rain, about the way she'd smiled when she talked about her son's struggles, about how she'd called me out with kindness instead of judgment. On Friday evening, my daughter Emma called. An actual phone call, not a text. Dad, I need to talk to you about something. My chest tightened. In my experience, that phrase never led anywhere good. What is it? I'm thinking about leaving the firm. Emma had worked at one of the top investment banks in the city for 4 years. I'd helped her get the interview. I'd coached her through the process. That job was her future. Why? I kept my voice level. Calm. Is someone not treating you right? Are you not getting the projects you deserve? No, Dad. It's not about that. Then what? You're being promoted, aren't you? Did someone else get the position? Silence on the other end. Emma. Dad, I'm calling because I wanted to tell you, not because I need you to fix it. Her voice was tired. Not angry. Just exhausted. I'm just trying to understand. I know. You're always trying to understand. To analyze. To solve. She took a breath. But sometimes I just need you to listen. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Laura's voice echoed in my head. There's a difference. Okay, I said quietly. I'm listening. Another silence. Then Emma spoke, and her voice was softer. I think I want to teach. High school math. I know it sounds crazy, and I know it's not what we planned, but it's not crazy. What? It's not crazy, I repeated. If that's what you want, then tell me about it. Why teaching? I could almost hear her surprise through the phone. She started talking. Really talking. About how she'd been volunteering at a local community center, helping kids with homework. About how one girl, struggling with algebra, had looked at her with tears in her eyes and said, "You make it make sense." That moment, Emma said, felt more important than any deal I've ever closed. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't offer solutions. And when she finished, I said, "That sounds wonderful." Really? Really? We talked for another 20 minutes. When we hung up, I sat in my dark apartment and realized something. That was the longest conversation I'd had with my daughter in 3 years. On Sunday, I went for a walk in Central Park. I never went for walks. Walks were inefficient, purposeless. But I went anyway. I found myself near the coffee shop where I'd met Laura. Without planning it, I went inside. She was there. Same table. Same gray sweater. When she saw me, she smiled like she'd been expecting me. "Richard." "Laura." I gestured to the chair. "May I?" "I was hoping you would." I sat down, and for a moment neither of us spoke. "I took your advice," I said finally. "Which advice was that?" "I listened to my daughter. Really listened. Without trying to fix anything." Laura's smile widened. And it was wonderful." She laughed, a soft, genuine sound that made something warm bloom in my chest. "I'm proud of you," she said. 3 words from a woman I barely knew. But they meant more than any business award I'd ever received. "Would you like to have dinner with me?" The words came out before I could stop them. Not as a business meeting. Not as networking. Just dinner. Laura studied me for a long moment. Yes, she said. I'd like that. We went to a small Italian restaurant in the village. Nothing fancy. Red checkered tablecloths. Candles in wine bottles. The kind of place Catherine and I used to go to when we were young and broke and happy. Laura told me about her marriage. Her ex-husband had been a good man, she said, but they'd grown apart. He'd wanted adventure. She'd wanted roots. Neither was wrong. They were just different. Do you regret it? I asked. The divorce. I regret the pain it caused my children, she said. But I don't regret choosing myself. For the first time in my life, I chose what I needed, not what everyone else needed from me. That must have been terrifying. It was. She met my eyes. But it was also freeing. I told her about Catherine. About how I'd thought providing was the same as loving. How I'd measured success in promotions and bank accounts and college acceptances, never realizing I was counting all the wrong things. She told me I wanted to control everything. I said. She was right. Why did you want to control everything? No one had ever asked me that before. I thought about it. Really thought. Because, I said slowly, if I could control it, I could keep it from falling apart. And did it work? I looked down at my wine glass. No. Laura reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. Her touch was warm, solid, real. Richard, she said gently, love isn't about control. It's about trust. And trust means letting go. Over the next few weeks, I saw Laura 3 times. 4. Then 5. We went to museums. We walked through bookstores. We sat in her kitchen while she made soup and I chopped vegetables badly, and she laughed at my technique, but didn't fix it for me. It was the most ordinary, extraordinary time of my life. But something else was happening, too. I was starting to see all the cracks I'd spent years covering up. Michael called on a Tuesday evening. My son, who barely spoke to me anymore, actually called. Dad, I need to tell you something. I braced myself. I'm dropping out of the startup. Why? Because I hate it. I've hated it for 6 months. I only stayed because I thought you'd be disappointed if I quit. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. Michael, don't, Dad. Don't tell me about perseverance or pushing through or any of that. I've heard it my whole life. I can't anymore. I wasn't going to say that. Silence. You weren't. No. I took a breath. I was going to ask what you want to do instead. Another silence. Longer this time. I want to be a carpenter, he said finally. I want to work with my hands. Build things. Real things. Every instinct screamed at me to argue. To explain why that was impractical. Why he was wasting his potential. But I thought about Laura. About Emma. About all the years I'd spent trying to build people into what I thought they should be. Okay, I said. Okay. Tell me about it. What kind of carpentry? And he did. My son, who I thought had stopped trusting me years ago, talked for 45 minutes about wood grains and joinery and a workshop he wanted to rent in Red Hook. When we hung up, I sat in the silence of my apartment and cried. I cried for all the years I'd spent building walls instead of bridges. I cried for the man I'd been, so sure he was right about everything. I cried for the time I'd lost. Laura found me like that, sitting in my expensive apartment, tears running down my face, feeling like everything I'd built was made of sand. I'd given her a key the week before. She'd said yes, but I could tell it scared her. Moving too fast after so many years of moving slowly. She didn't say anything when she came in, just sat beside me on the couch and took my hand. I've been so stupid, I said. No, you've been learning. It's too late. It's never too late, Richard. Not for love. Not for change. Not for choosing differently. I turned to look at her. This woman who'd appeared in my life like rain after a drought. I don't know how to do this, I said. How to be softer. How to let go. You're already doing it, she said. Every conversation with Emma. Every phone call with Michael. Every moment you choose to listen instead of direct. She squeezed my hand. You're already doing it. Will you help me? I can't fix you, Richard. That's not my job. Her eyes were gentle but firm. But I can walk beside you while you fix yourself. I kissed her then, soft and slow and full of all the words I didn't know how to say. It wasn't all smooth. Change never is. 3 weeks later, Emma called again. She'd told her firm about her decision to leave. They'd offered her a promotion, more money, everything she'd supposedly wanted. She'd turned it down, and then she'd called to tell me. I just wanted you to know, she said, that I did it. I actually did it. I'm proud of you. Dad. Yes. Are you really okay with this? You're not just saying it. And there it was. The doubt. The years of me saying one thing and meaning another, of conditional support that came with invisible strings. Emma, I said carefully, I spent most of your life trying to make you into who I thought you should be. And I'm sorry for that. So yes, I'm really okay with it. More than okay. I think you're brave. I heard her breath catch. Can I see you this weekend? She asked. I want you to meet someone. Of course. His name is James. We've been dating for 8 months. 8 months. And this was the first I was hearing about him. That hurt. But I understood why. I'd love to meet him, I said. And I meant it. That Saturday, Emma brought James to lunch. He was a graphic designer, soft-spoken, kind-eyed, completely wrong for the image I'd had of who my daughter would end up with. He was perfect for her. I watched them together. How he listened when she spoke, how she leaned into him without thinking, how they laughed at inside jokes I wasn't part of. And I felt happy. Not controlling. Not managing. Just happy. Laura joined us for coffee afterward. I'd told Emma about her, nervously expecting, I don't know what. Judgment? Concern? Instead, Emma had hugged me. I'm glad you're not alone anymore, Dad, she'd said. Now, watching Emma and Laura talk and laugh like old friends, I felt something shift inside me. This was what I'd been missing. Not success. Not control. Just connection. It was Laura who brought it up. We were in her apartment, much smaller than mine, filled with books and plants and photographs of her children at every age. It felt like a home. Richard, she said, curled up beside me on her worn couch. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did your marriage really end? I'd told her the surface version. Grew apart. Different priorities. The usual story. But she was asking for the truth. I took a breath. I had an affair. Laura went still beside me. It was brief. 6 weeks. A colleague. Catherine found emails. The words tasted like ash. I ended it immediately. Begged her to forgive me. Promised it would never happen again. Did she forgive you? She tried. For 2 years she tried. We went to counseling. I did everything the therapist said. But Catherine, she couldn't trust me anymore. And I couldn't blame her. Why did you do it? Laura's voice was quiet, not accusing. Just asking. Because I was empty, I said. Because I'd built this perfect life that felt like a prison. Because I wanted to feel something, anything, that wasn't about responsibility and performance and being the man everyone expected me to be. Did it work? No. It just made everything worse. Laura was quiet for a long time. Thank you for telling me, she said finally. Are you going to leave? She looked at me then, really looked at me. Richard, I'm not Catherine. And you're not the same man you were 8 years ago. I can see that. She touched my face. But I need you to understand something. I won't be with someone who runs when things get hard. Who looks for escape instead of facing what's broken. I won't run, I said. Not from this. Not from you. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that when you're feeling empty, when you're struggling, you'll tell me. Not hide it. Not manage it alone. Just tell me. It was such a simple request. It terrified me. I promise, I said. The next morning I called Catherine. We hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since the last custody modification hearing. Richard? She sounded surprised. Maybe concerned. I need to apologize to you, I said. Silence. I've apologized before, I know. But I don't think I ever really understood what I was apologizing for. I thought it was just the affair. But it was more than that, wasn't it? Richard, why are you calling? Because I'm trying to be better. And I can't be better without acknowledging what I did. Not just the cheating. All of it. The control. The criticism disguised as help. The way I made you feel like you were never enough, even when you were everything. I heard her breath catch. I treated you like a project, I continued. Like something to optimize. And I'm sorry. You deserved so much better than that. For a moment she didn't speak. Then, thank you, she said softly. I've waited a long time to hear that. I know I can't fix what I broke. No, you can't. But you can stop breaking new things. She paused. Emma told me about Laura. She did. She likes her. Says she makes you softer. She does. Good. Catherine's voice warmed slightly. You were always at your best when you were soft, Richard. You just forgot that somewhere along the way. We talked for another 20 minutes. It wasn't closure. Closure is a myth people sell in therapy offices. But it was something. Understanding, maybe. Or just acknowledgement that we'd both been human, both made mistakes, both deserved to move forward. When I hung up, I felt lighter. Michael invited me to see his workshop on a cold Sunday in November. It was in Red Hook, Brooklyn, tucked between a coffee roaster and a motorcycle repair shop. The neighborhood was industrial, gritty, nothing like the polished world I lived in. I loved it immediately. The workshop was small, exposed brick, high ceilings, windows that let in northern light. Half-finished projects filled every surface. Sawdust covered the floor. Michael stood in the center of it all, wearing an apron and a smile I hadn't seen since he was 12 years old. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think it's perfect." "Really? Really?" He showed me what he was working on, a dining table made from reclaimed wood, every joint fitted by hand, every surface sanded smooth. "It's for a client in Park Slope," he said. "A young couple. First house. They want something that'll last. It's beautiful work, Michael." He looked at me then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd been searching for years. Pride. Not in what I thought. In what he'd made. "Dad," he said, "I'm happy. For the first time in my adult life, I'm actually happy." My throat tightened. "That's all I want for you," I said. "That's all I've ever wanted. I went about it all wrong." "Yeah," he said. "You did." The honesty should have hurt. Instead, it felt like relief. "Can I help?" I asked. "I don't know anything about carpentry, but I can sand. Or clean. Or just be here." Michael smiled. "Yeah, Dad. You can help." We worked side by side for 3 hours. He showed me how to sand with the grain, how to feel when the wood was ready for the next grit. I was terrible at it. My back hurt. My hands cramped. It was wonderful. "Laura's teaching you well," Michael said at one point. "What do you mean?" "Emma told me. About how you're different now. How you actually listen." He glanced at me. "I like it. I like you like this. I should have been like this all along. Maybe. But you weren't." He set down his sandpaper. "And that sucked. It really sucked, Dad. But you're trying now. That counts for something. Does it count enough?" "I don't know yet," he said honestly. "But I'm willing to find out." It wasn't forgiveness. Not completely. But it was a door cracked open. I'd take it. Laura suggested we have dinner together. Both our families. I panicked. What if they don't get along? What if it's awkward? What if? Laura kissed me quiet. "Richard, stop managing. Just let it happen." So I did. We gathered at Laura's house on a Friday evening. Emma and James. Michael and his girlfriend Sophie, who I was meeting for the first time. Laura's 3 children, David, her oldest, with his fiancée. Maya, home from South Korea for Thanksgiving. And Ben, her youngest, 22 and still figuring things out. 9 people. All the beautiful, complicated humans our broken marriages had created. At first, it was awkward. Polite conversation. Careful silences. Then Ben accidentally knocked over the wine bottle, and Sophie laughed, and suddenly everyone was talking at once, passing bread, telling stories, arguing about whether the pasta needed more salt. It was loud and messy and chaotic. It was perfect. I watched Laura across the table, laughing at something David said, her hand reaching out to squeeze Maya's shoulder. I watched my children, my serious, guarded children, relaxed and smiling. And I thought this is what I was supposed to be building all along. After dinner, Emma found me in the kitchen drying dishes. "Dad! I'm glad you found her." I looked at my daughter. When had she gotten so wise? "Me too. She's good for you. She doesn't let you get away with anything." "No, she doesn't." Emma smiled. "Good. You need that." "I do." She hesitated, then said, "I'm going to say yes to James. He's going to propose at Christmas. I've known for weeks. And I'm going to say yes." My first instinct was to ask questions. "When's the wedding? Where will you live? Have you thought about finances?" But I caught myself. "He's a lucky man," I said instead. Emma hugged me then, tight and fierce. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart." And I meant it. Without conditions. Without expectations. Just love. That night, after everyone left, Laura and I sat on her back porch. The November air was cold, but she'd brought out blankets and hot tea. "That went well," she said. "It did. You looked happy tonight." I am. I turned to her. "I can't remember the last time I felt this, settled." "Settled?" She raised an eyebrow. "That's a romantic word." I laughed. "Wrong word. Content. Peaceful. Like everything is exactly where it's supposed to be." "That's better." She leaned against me. "Richard, can I tell you something?" "Always. I'm falling in love with you." My heart stopped, then started again faster. "You don't have to say it back," she continued. "I just wanted you to know. I'm 52 years old. I've been married and divorced. I've raised 3 children. I know what love feels like. And I know what love isn't. What is it? I asked quietly. It's this. It's choosing to see someone clearly, all their broken parts, all their mistakes, all their fear, and choosing to stay anyway. Not to fix them, just to stay. I pulled her closer. I'm falling in love with you too, I said. I think I started falling that day in the rain when you stood still while everyone else ran. Why? Because I've been running my whole life. And you showed me it was okay to just stop. We sat in the cold November air, wrapped in blankets, wrapped in each other. And for the first time in my 56 years, I wasn't planning the next move. I was just there. Catherine sent me a letter in December. An actual handwritten letter, delivered in the mail like something from another era. I opened it carefully, my hands shaking slightly. Richard, Emma told me you apologized. Really apologized. Not the strategic apology you used to give when you wanted something. The real one. I wanted to write this because there are things I never said. Things I should have said years ago. I forgive you. Not for your sake. I let go of my anger a long time ago for my own peace. But I wanted you to know that I see you trying. I see you becoming the man I always believed you could be, under all that armor. Our children are happy. That's all that matters. Be good to Laura. And let her be good to you. Catherine. I read it 3 times. Then I called Laura and read it to her. That's beautiful, she said softly. It is. How do you feel? Grateful, I said. And light. Like I've been carrying something heavy for years and finally set it down. Good, she said. You deserve to feel light. On Christmas Eve, I gathered my courage and asked Laura a question. We were at my apartment. She'd finally agreed to spend the night, though she kept a toothbrush at her own place, just in case. We were decorating my sad little tree, the first one I'd had in years. Laura, She was hanging a silver ornament, concentrating. Would you move in with me? She froze, then slowly set down the ornament. Richard, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other for 4 months. But I've wasted so much time being careful, being strategic. And I don't want to waste any more time with you. It's not about time, she said carefully. It's about being ready. I am ready. Are you? She turned to face me fully. Because moving in together isn't just about sharing space. It's about sharing your life. Your real life. The messy parts. The scared parts. The parts you've spent 56 years learning to hide. I know. Do you? Her voice was gentle but firm. Because when I get anxious, I clean obsessively. When I'm sad, I go silent for days. When I'm overwhelmed, I need to be completely alone. Can you handle that? Yes. And when you get controlling, not if, Richard, can you hear me tell you to stop without shutting down? I took a breath. I'll try. That's all I ask. She smiled. Ask me again in 6 months. It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was the answer I needed. Okay, I said. 6 months. She kissed me then, soft and sweet. I do love you, she said. I just love myself too much to rush this. I love that about you. Good. You should. Emma and James got married in May, in a small garden in Connecticut. It was simple, 50 people, wildflowers, a ceremony under an oak tree. Emma wore her grandmother's dress. James cried when he saw her. I walked her down the aisle, and when the officiant asked who gave this woman, I said what Emma had asked me to say. She gives herself. I'm just honored to have been part of her journey. Laura squeezed my hand. At the reception, I danced with my daughter. You did good, Dad, she said. You did better. She laughed. I meant with Laura. With yourself. With all of it. I'm trying. I know. She rested her head on my shoulder. I'm proud of you. Coming from her, those words meant everything. Michael gave a toast during dinner. I'm not good at speeches, he started, looking uncomfortable in his suit. But I wanted to say something about love. He glanced at me. I used to think love was about finding someone perfect. Someone who fit into your plan. But Emma and James taught me something different. They taught me that love is about finding someone who makes you want to be better. Not because they demand it. Because you want to be worthy of what they give you. He raised his glass. To Emma and James. And to second chances. For all of us. Everyone drank. I wiped my eyes and pretended it was allergies. Laura knew better. That night, lying in bed in our hotel room, Laura turned to me. Ask me again. Ask you what? You know what? My heart started racing. Laura, will you move in with me? She smiled. Yes. Really? Really? It's been 6 months. You've shown me you can change. You've shown me you can listen. You've shown me that you're willing to be uncomfortable if it means being real. She took my hand. And I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to cook in your sterile kitchen and fill it with life. I want to fight with you and make up with you and build something real together. I kissed her, long and deep and full of gratitude. I don't deserve you, I whispered. Probably not, she said, smiling. But you're going to try anyway. And that's enough. Laura moved into my apartment in June. Within a week, everything changed. She brought plants, books, photographs, a worn armchair that didn't match anything but was the perfect reading spot. She rearranged my kitchen, putting the coffee mugs where they were actually useful instead of where they looked organized. She filled my sterile apartment with life. And I let her. The first time we fought, it was about the dishwasher. You're loading it wrong, I said, watching her put plates in haphazardly. She stopped, turned to me, raised one eyebrow. Wrong. There's a more efficient way. If you angle them like this. Richard. Yes. It's a dishwasher, not a military operation. But if we do it right, are the dishes getting clean? Well, yes, but then it's not wrong. It's just different from how you do it. I opened my mouth, closed it. She was right. I'm being controlling again, aren't I? A little bit. I'm sorry. She walked over and kissed my cheek. Thank you for catching yourself. That's progress. It was such a small thing. A dishwasher. But it was everything. Over the next few months, we learned each other's rhythms. I learned that she needed Sunday mornings alone with her coffee and her crossword puzzle. That she got quiet when she was processing something difficult. That she loved terrible reality TV shows and wouldn't apologize for it. She learned that I woke up at 5:30 every morning, even on weekends. That I organized my closet by color and season and couldn't relax if things were chaotic. That I needed time to process emotions before I could talk about them. We didn't try to change each other. We just made space for who we actually were. One evening in August, I came home to find Laura crying at the kitchen table. Not angry crying. Sad crying. The kind that comes from somewhere deep. What happened? I sat beside her, resisting the urge to immediately fix whatever was wrong. Maya called. She's not coming home for Thanksgiving. She got a job offer in Seoul. Full-time. She's staying. That's good, isn't it? She loves it there. I know. I'm happy for her. I am. She wiped her eyes. But she's my daughter. And she's going to be on the other side of the world. And I'm going to miss weddings and birthdays and just regular Tuesdays. I'm sorry. I know this is what I taught her. To be independent. To follow her dreams. To not need me. Laura laughed through her tears. I just didn't realize how much it would hurt when she actually did it. I pulled her close. You're allowed to be sad, I said. Even when you're proud. Both things can be true. She looked up at me. When did you get so wise? I have a good teacher. We sat there for a long time, her head on my shoulder, my arms around her. I didn't try to solve it. I didn't offer strategies or solutions. I just held her. And somehow that was enough. We hosted Thanksgiving together that year. Both families. Laura's apartment. We decided to keep both places for now, using hers for gatherings because it felt more like home. Emma was there with James, glowing. They'd just found out she was pregnant. Michael came with Sophie. They'd gotten engaged in October. A quiet proposal in his workshop, surrounded by sawdust and half-finished furniture. Laura's sons David and Ben came. David's wife was pregnant too, due in January. Maya joined by video call from Seoul, her face pixelated but smiling. Catherine came too. That surprised everyone, including me. Emma invited me, she said when she arrived, handing Laura a bottle of wine. I hope that's okay. Of course, Laura said warmly. We're glad you're here. And she meant it. No jealousy. No competition. Just generosity. Catherine pulled me aside while Laura was in the kitchen. She's good for you, Catherine said. She is. You look happy. Really happy. I am. Catherine smiled, a real smile, not the polite one from our last years together. Good. You deserve that. She paused. We both do. How's David? I asked. She'd been dating someone for the past year. Emma had mentioned. He's wonderful. Patient. Kind. Exactly what I needed. She glanced toward the kitchen. I think we both found the right people. Just not with each other. No, I agreed. Not with each other. It should have been awkward. But it wasn't. We'd both moved forward. And there was something peaceful in that. During dinner, Laura stood and tapped her glass. I want to say something, she said. The table quieted. This year has been unexpected. beautiful and hard and full of change. She looked at me. Richard taught me that it's never too late to choose love, to choose truth, to choose to become who you were always meant to be. She turned to everyone else. And all of you, my children, Richard's children, even you, Catherine, you've taught me that family isn't about biology or marriage certificates. It's about showing up, about choosing each other, about making space at the table for everyone who needs a place. Her voice caught. So thank you for being here, for being patient with two stubborn people learning how to love better, for being our family. Emma started crying, then Sophie. Then everyone was laughing and crying and passing tissues. I stood and took Laura's hand. I'm grateful, I said simply. For all of this. For all of you. Michael raised his glass. To family. To family, everyone echoed. After everyone left, Laura and I stood in her kitchen, surrounded by dirty dishes and leftover pie. We should clean this up, she said, not moving. We should, I agreed, also not moving. We looked at each other and laughed. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow. We went to bed instead, exhausted and happy. As I was drifting off, Laura spoke into the darkness. Richard, marry me. My eyes flew open. What? She turned on the light. She was smiling, but her eyes were serious. Marry me. I know it's supposed to be the other way around, but I'm 53 years old, and I'm done waiting for things to happen the way they're supposed to. So, will you marry me? I stared at her. This brave, beautiful woman who'd taught me how to be human again. Yes, I said. Yes. Absolutely yes. She kissed me. And then we were both laughing and crying and holding each other. I don't have a ring, she said. I don't care. We should probably talk about logistics. Where we'll live. How we'll. I kissed her quiet. Tomorrow, I said. We'll figure it all out tomorrow. Tonight, let's just be happy. She smiled against my lips. Okay. Just happy. We got married in March in Laura's backyard. No fancy venue. No expensive planner. Just 30 people who loved us, folding chairs in the grass, and an oak tree just starting to bud. Emma and Maya stood with Laura. Michael and David stood with me. I wore a simple suit. Laura wore a blue dress and her mother's pearls. We wrote our own vows. Laura went first. Richard, she said, her voice steady. When I met you, you were a man who'd forgotten how to be soft. You'd built walls so high you couldn't see the sky anymore. She took my hands. But you did something remarkable. You chose to break down those walls. Brick by brick. Day by day. Even when it was hard. Even when it hurt. Her eyes shimmered. You chose to change. Not for me. For yourself. And then you chose to let me love the person you were becoming. She squeezed my hands. I promise to keep choosing you. In your strength and in your weakness. When you're being wonderful and when you're being difficult. I promise to tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And I promise to love you, not for who I want you to be, but for who you actually are. I wiped my eyes. My turn. Laura. I started, my voice rougher than I'd intended. Before you, I thought I knew what love was. I thought it was about providing, protecting, controlling outcomes. I shook my head. You taught me that love is actually about letting go, about trusting, about believing that people can grow and change and become themselves without me managing the process. I smiled through my tears. You taught me that it's okay to be broken, that admitting weakness isn't failure, it's honesty, and that real love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. I took a shaky breath. I promised to keep learning, to keep listening, to keep choosing compassion over control. And I promised to love you, your strength, your stubbornness, your terrible taste in television, all of it. Every day. For as long as I live. The officiant, an old friend of Laura's, smiled at us both. By the power vested in me, and by the love that's clearly vested in both of you, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss. And we did, while our families cheered, while the March wind blew cherry blossoms across the lawn, while the world kept spinning and changing and breaking and healing. We kissed, and it felt like coming home. The first year of marriage was harder than I expected. Not in the big ways. In the small ways. Learning to compromise on dinner plans. On weekend schedules. On where to spend Christmas. Learning that I need space didn't mean I don't love you. Learning that my anxiety showed up as controlling behavior, and Laura's showed up as withdrawal, and we had to learn each other's patterns to help each other heal. We went to therapy together. Not because we were broken, but because we wanted to do it right this time. The therapist, a warm woman named Dr. Chun, asked us in our first session what we wanted. To not repeat our mistakes, I said. To build something real, Laura added. Dr. Chen nodded. Those are good goals. But here's what I want you to understand. You will repeat some mistakes. You will hurt each other. You will fail. The question isn't whether you'll be perfect. It's whether you'll show up and do the work when you're not. She was right. I still got controlling sometimes. I still tried to manage Laura's emotions or solve problems she didn't ask me to solve. But now when she said, "Richard, you're doing it again," I stopped. I breathed. I apologized. And she did the same when she withdrew, when she went silent and shut me out. We learned to fight fair. To take breaks when things got heated. To come back and finish the conversation instead of letting it fester. It wasn't always pretty, but it was honest. Emma had her baby in September. A girl. They named her Claire. I held my granddaughter in the hospital, this tiny perfect creature, and felt something crack open in my chest. "Hi, Claire," I whispered. "I'm your grandpa." Emma watched me from the bed, exhausted and radiant. "You're going to be great at this," she said. "I don't know. I wasn't very good at being a father." "Dad, stop." Her voice was firm but kind. "You're not that person anymore. And Claire is lucky to have you exactly as you are right now." Laura stood beside me, tears streaming down her face. "She's beautiful, Emma. Thank you for being here. Both of you." James put his arm around Emma. "We want to ask you something." "Anything," I said. "Would you and Laura be Claire's godparents?" "Both of you." I looked at Laura. She nodded, crying harder. "We'd be honored," I said. Michael got married in November. A small ceremony in his workshop because of course it was. Sophie wore a dress she'd made herself. Michael wore his best work shirt and cleaned boots. Their vows were short and sweet, and full of promises about building a life together. Literally building. They were renovating an old house in Queens, doing most of the work themselves. After the ceremony, Michael pulled me aside. "I want to show you something." He led me to a corner of the workshop. There, covered with a cloth, was a large piece of furniture. He pulled off the cloth. It was a rocking chair. Beautifully made, every curve perfect, the wood glowing with oil and care. "For Claire," he said. "So you and Laura can rock her to sleep when Emma needs a break." I couldn't speak. "I know I was angry at you for a long time," Michael said. "And some of that anger was fair. But you've changed, Dad. You really have. And I wanted you to know. I see it. I'm proud of you." I hugged my son. This man who'd taught me that there were many ways to build a life, and none of them were wrong if they were honest. "I'm proud of you too," I said. So proud. That Christmas, Laura and I hosted everyone at our house. We'd finally sold both apartments and bought a real home in Westchester. A house with a yard and a guest room and space for everyone. The house was full of noise. Claire crying. David's baby, a boy named Thomas, gurgling. Ben's new girlfriend laughing at something James said. Emma and Maya on video call, catching up. Sophie and Michael arguing playfully about whether the turkey was done. Catherine came again. This time with David, her partner. He was kind, soft-spoken, a retired teacher. They fit together easily. "Your home is lovely," Catherine said to Laura. "Thank you. It's still a work in progress. Aren't we all?" Catherine smiled. I watched my ex-wife and my wife laugh together about something, watched our blended, complicated, beautiful family fill every corner of our home. And I thought, I spent so many years trying to control everything, trying to make life follow a plan. And I missed all of this. The mess. The noise. The unpredictable, unmanageable beauty of people just being people. That night, after everyone left, Laura and I sat in our living room. The house was a disaster. Wrapping paper everywhere, dishes piled high, toys scattered across the floor. "We should clean," Laura said, her head on my shoulder. "Tomorrow," I said. She laughed. "You've come a long way from the man who organized his closet by color." "I still organize my closet by color." "I know. But now you can sit in a messy room without having a panic attack." "Progress," I agreed. We sat in comfortable silence. "Richard," Laura said after a while. "Yes. Are you happy?" I thought about it. Really thought. "Yes," I said. "For the first time in my life, I think I'm actually happy. Not successful. Not accomplished. Just happy." "Good." She kissed my cheek. "You deserve to be happy. So do you." "I know." She smiled. "That's why I married you." I'm 61 now. Laura and I have been married for 5 years. Together for almost 6. Emma has 2 children now. Claire is 4 and her brother Jack just turned 2. She teaches math at a public high school in Brooklyn and loves every chaotic minute of it. Michael and Sophie opened a second workshop. They employ 3 other craftspeople. Michael still calls me sometimes just to talk, just to share his day. Maya moved back from Seoul last year. She's teaching at a university in Boston. She visits once a month. David's son Thomas is 3. Ben finally found his path. He's a nurse, working in pediatrics. Catherine and David got married. I went to the wedding. Laura and I danced with them at the reception. My consulting firm still exists, but I'm not there much anymore. I trained someone to take over, someone younger and hungrier, and still learning that success isn't the same as happiness. These days, I spend my time differently. I volunteer at Michael's community workshop, teaching basic business skills to young craftspeople. I babysit Claire and Jack every Thursday. I go for walks with Laura, slow meandering walks where we talk about everything and nothing. I'm learning to play the piano. Badly. Laura encourages me anyway. Last week, Claire asked me a question while I was pushing her on the swing in our backyard. Grandpa, why do you and Grandma Laura smile so much? Do we? Uh-huh. You're always smiling at each other. I thought about how to explain it to a 4-year-old. Because we make each other happy, I said. Why? Because we let each other be ourselves. She thought about this, her little face serious. That's good, she decided. Yes, I agreed. That's very good. Last night, Laura and I sat on our porch. It was early spring, the same time of year we got married. Do you have any regrets? She asked. About us? No. About anything? I considered it. I regret the years I wasted being afraid, being controlling, being someone I thought I should be instead of who I was. I took her hand, but I don't regret the journey that brought me here. To you. To this. That's a very evolved answer. I have a good therapist. She laughed. Richard. Yes. I love you. Not for who you were. Not for who you might become. For exactly who you are, right now in this moment. I kissed her hand. I love you too. Thank you for teaching me how. I didn't teach you. You learned. Same thing. No, she said gently. It's not. You did the work. You made the choice. Every day. To change. To grow. To be better. She leaned her head on my shoulder. That's all any of us can do. We sat there as the sun set, turning the sky pink and gold and purple. And I thought about the man I'd been 6 years ago, standing at my office window, watching a woman in the rain, wondering why she wasn't running. I understood now. She wasn't running because she'd already learned what I was just beginning to understand. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop. Stop controlling. Stop managing. Stop trying to make life follow a plan. And just be. Be present. Be honest. Be vulnerable. Be human. Be loved. At 56, I thought love was about control. At 61, I know it's about compassion. For others. And finally for myself. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, it's never too late to choose love, to choose change, to choose compassion. What will you choose today?